slip. I made sure that I found a way through a cloud of haze. Every day I wept, found how to live through all them cloudy days. You know the mind's a maze with all its mixtures. It's always hard to get the entire scope of the picture. 1080p, that's you other busters, yeah, obsolete. Can't fuck with me, excuse my French, but I'm not discreet. I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I've learned my lesson. I learned 1996 birth, one of the greatest weapons untold. I'm destined to reach heights thought I could never see, but foolish thoughts rampage my heart and let me not reach the peaks that's entrusted to me. My belief shatter of past actions. I grieve, but grievance never really matter. It's how I choose to act differently in the coming battles to overcome my limitations and get out my shadow. But it's hard to wade in this water, but it was never shallow. Fuck it, let me get the paddles. Fuck that now, let me get this castle. Fuck that now, let me get this battle.
He he. 62. Hold on. I apologize. Yeah, small technical difficulty. Go ahead, start your whole spiel again.
Dang.
Again?
Yeah,
Again?
just quick.
Drake.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was watching. My apologies for the last minute of silence coming from Sage. We all know silence is golden from him, but he got to start it off. So go ahead, do it again.
All right, it's episode 62 yet again, Squad Nero. We appreciate y'all for stopping by. Please, if you are on the YouTube side, or matter of fact, I don't even care if you're on the YouTube side or not. Just go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Squad Nero, or I'm sorry, @Squad Nero 716. Tap in right there. You'll see all of our live content, all of our videos, all of that shit. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe button and then smash the noti bell after, so that you're staying up to date with all of our content in which that we're dropping in the coming days. All right, we appreciate y'all for stopping by. And on the Twitch side, it's twitch.tv/smooventertainment, SMOOVEN, or entertainment after that. All right, is it two E's with the smooth and entertainment, or just one E? I think it's one E.
I think it's one E.
Just one E, all right? So we appreciate y'all for that. And then if y'all have some comments or anything like that, you think that I'm saying something stupid, you think I sound like Joe Budden, don't be afraid to say that shit, okay? We greatly appreciate all the comments that come by. Nah, I didn't. It was funny. It was funny when I went back there, because I was stuttering after that. It just caught me off guard. I was tired. So when she said that, I think it was Janae, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. When she said that, it caught me off. I didn't have any quips to come back quickly.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right. And then I started stuttering. Accept it. I started stuttering, and then the nigga Howard, he said, this nigga insecure? It was quite funny. But yet again, we got some good topics for y'all this week. A lot of new content that just dropped recently. I know One Piece just came back. I don't know if any of y'all tapped into that.
Yep.
We have some new series such as Devil May Cry that just released on Netflix. We have Fire Force coming back for one of their cores or final cores that they're coming back with. And then CinemaCon also just happened recently. They had some screenings for some trailers or never before seen footage from Superman. Obviously, DC has dropped that on all of their platforms, so now you're able to witness that. Some screenings for Thunderbolts, not screenings but trailers, and I believe it was another trailer for Fantastic Four, and some of the people is talking in regards to Spider-Man 4 and Doomsday and all of that jazz. So since we're here, we might as well talk about the Marvel updates with the Fantastic Four screening, Thunderbolt screening, Daredevil mid-season review as well. We could just sprinkle that in there. I figured before we do the video, I'll just tell y'all what I heard so far. And I believe I got this from Screen Crush over at YouTube. So give them some love, shout them out, let them know that y'all came here from us. Just plug y'all in, all right? Screen Crush, actually, one of the people that's at Screen Crush actually was able to go to CinemaCon and was able to see all of these trailers and everything like that. One thing I want to say of notice that I got from what he got at CinemaCon is out of all the trailers, including Superman 2, out of all the superhero content, he said Fantastic Four still has given him the most hope or the most curiosity when it comes to after watching the trailer. It got him the most hyped. He could be biased, but who knows? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But it just showed some more scenes. Supposedly they showed Silver Surfer as well, so we might actually get a trailer that shows the, I can't remember her name, but not the Nora Rad version obviously, but the, I can't remember her name. Damn it. Whatever her name is, the lady version. Yeah, the lady version of Silver Surfer. They actually showed her on the trailer, so he said that gave him a little bit of goosebumps and everything like that. It seems like I also heard something in Twitter that the Fantastic Four is the only heroes in that universe from the director, if I'm not mistaken. So keep that with a grain of salt. Thunderbolts, he said, surprisingly is still keeping him intrigued. And then he was also excited about the Superman stuff as well. And I know there's probably been some back and forth between the crew. So I'm interested after seeing that Superman, because I don't think we talked about it last week, did we?
Nope.
Nah, because we did that long ass game. After seeing the Superman, after James Gunn, I'm guessing, gave them the go ahead. After people was giving it flack and everything like that, said release the footage so the people can view what they see. After some days now, how do y'all feel about that Superman trailer that they released?
Still not gonna watch it.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it. I felt alright about it. I mean, granted, it is different. It's definitely a different tone than Zack Snyder's Superman, and it seems like a different tone of Superman from anything we really got. Like even like DC animated Superman when we were kids, you know, it wasn't as campy as that was. Um, I guess they're bringing him in a new light. He's going to be more hopeful, but having the dog jump on him, I guess people are saying like that's what your pets do, and this is a super powered pet. It's like I get it, but our first showing of Superman is him injured with a dog jumping on him with robots telling bad jokes and him screaming from getting healed from the sun, and it's like damn, like it just don't seem like a good start. Like the Fortress of Solitude was cool, having the robots is cool, you know, because it's like there's people there that help him in the Fortress of Solitude, so there's going to be a lot that he's probably got to maneuver through, you know, throughout the world or whatever. It just didn't really build any excitement.
Yeah, it didn't do anything. It didn't like add anything to the movie for me. It didn't necessarily like take anything away because it's like everything that I saw was pretty much what I expected I would see. I already have not been excited by that, so there wasn't really any room for me to improve my opinion on the series based off that trailer alone. I'm just hoping that we're proven wrong. I'm hoping that we end up doing a podcast where we say, you know what, it was very hard to tell whether it was going to be a good movie or not, and it ended up being a really good movie, and you know, we were totally off base from the jump in regards to how we felt about this. I would love if that is the review that we have to talk about when we come on here to talk about it, but just at this moment, It just doesn't seem like it's gonna do really well. And then on top of that, hearing some of the news that we've heard on test screenings and such, it doesn't seem like it's changed anything in regards to the suspicion that we've had. So yeah, it didn't move the needle at all for me.
Was that everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
So everybody's still not moved? Still kind of skeptical about it?
Yeah.
Yes. And yo, one small detail that they show in the trailer, like the first trailer, they showed the little, like our first viewing of Superman is when he's putting on his costume, and then there's that alien ball in the back. Then in the trailer, they show the alien ball, like the very first trailer they show it, and he's just staring at Lois Lane. In this one, you can see Green Lantern fighting that shit, fighting for his fucking life, and Superman is sitting there just staring in Lois Lane's eyes. It's like, bro, what is going on in this?
Yeah.
Niggas is
Like-
getting cooked right behind you. And you over here worried about,
Bro,
you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I might be the most, which is a crazy turn of events. I'm the person the most in the pod right now that's kind of looking forward to Superman now. It's gonna be some gripes that I have with it, such as just the comedic element that I was about to say Zack Snyder, James Gunn does, like in his Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I feel like the same comedic tone you could tell was in this Superman from the trailer. And I mean, it's cool if it floats your boat. Like, if it gets you there, then by all means. But we just had 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. You would have expected that he would have taken a different direction, or at least expounded upon that he does and make it even better. But I don't know. After seeing the trailer, I was like, okay, Fortress of Solitude does look nice. The robots is cool, I guess, and everything. Crypto was meh. Just the
yo,
scene
can we
was
find
meh.
out that Crypto is modeled after his own dog?
Mhm.
Yeah, shelter dog that he found or something like that, right?
Yes. Like my nigga,
Yeah.
everything about your life don't have to be in film.
Be involved. I think he narcissistic a little bit. Just a little touch.
He's
A
got
little touch of it.
Yeah.
He's gotta be. It's crazy.
Like a super dog. If you had Crypto as a white German Shepherd or a fucking Husky, cool. This is a fucking poodle. I'm like, okay, that's the direction you're trying to go, my nigga. You go ahead.
Yeah, it ain't it. It's
It is a
not
weird
it.
But how do y'all feel? Superman is Superman, but how do y'all feel about what I told y'all about some of the leaks for the other trailers that they showed? So like Fantastic Four got a good resonation, or it resonated well within the crowd. Seems like that was the movie that was most resonated or most felt at CinemaCon from superhero aspects. I could be wrong; it could have been Superman, but from this specific guy from Screen Crush, he was saying that Fantastic Four does look like it's shaping up to be a good film, as well as Thunderbolts.
And
feel like
what I
Fantastic
expected.
Four, yeah. It's like what we've seen so far with the retro futurism is gonna, I feel like it's gonna translate well to the big screen, as well as them being the only heroes on that Earth and the universe makes sense. Because that's Marvel's first family. So there could be other heroes emerging, but with the focus of them being like the only heroes at this time, and then Silver Surfer like coming to them, I think that's pretty good touch. It seems like Rise of the Silver Surfer, but I'm pretty sure with this being a multiversal, uh, part of Marvel's thing going on, it'll just be the stakes will be a little bit higher. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. I mean, I've been hearing a couple of things that I'm like a little confused on. One of the things that the director came out and said is, which I mean, like, I think I understand what he's saying by this, but I'm not exactly sure if can confidently say I understand what he's saying. But he was saying this, there's no other heroes that's be in the Fantastic Four movie. This is like a standalone Fantastic Four movie, which like in part I understand that. Like that's kind of what I expected anyways, is that it would just be the Fantastic Four as the superheroes in this universe. That you wouldn't see like an Iron Man, or you wouldn't see like a Captain America or Spider-Man or anything like that. Cool. But where I am a little confused is exactly where Fantastic Four will possibly pull on other elements of the upcoming Avengers movies that we have coming out. I know in our last podcast we kind of discussed that a little bit, where we were saying like we were kind of anticipating that Fantastic Four would have some type of segue that would help to make the movies that we would be going into in 2026 a little bit more understandable, and have the story just kind of fleshed out a little bit more. When he was saying that, and this is where my confusion kind of comes into play, when he was saying that it'd be a standalone Fantastic Four movie that did not include the end credit scene, which would just maybe possibly point to something completely different from anything that was more or less mentioned in the movie. Perfectly fine. Feel like we've seen that before, so I'm not mad at that if that is the case and if that is what he means. But if what he means is, the other side to that is if he means that there's absolutely no like indication of any other heroes at all, or villains, or just Marvel Cinematic Universe characters at all, then that makes me wonder, okay, well, what is going to be the series that would again kind of push the events that we know are going to be coming up further before we actually get the story? There's not really many TV shows that seem like they could point to that being the case. And then on top of that, I mean, maybe Thunderbolts could pull a lot of this stuff together for us. But if it's not Thunderbolts, and it's definitely not Fantastic Four, if that's what he meant, it leaves me a little confused. That outside of that though, that's the only thing in regards to it. I think that it's just gonna be I think that it could be a really solid movie. The director also made and something else that I read that also came from the director was that he wanted this to kind of have that feel of like the 60s, but also kind of have the feel of what was that, Stanley Kubrick's 2000 Space Odyssey. I can't remember the exact name of that movie's title, but he wanted it to have the feel of that. And I love that that's the reference that he's going off of, is the Stanley Kubrick Space Odyssey, because it's like that is a very good cinematography wise, that's very good at just kind of pulling in space elements for viewers, just period. Like that's for knowing what the Fantastic Four are, and that they are more of an outer space team, being able to see those elements and knowing that he's drawing on inspiration from specifically that movie for this movie. I feel like it's going to be very visually pleasing, and I already believe that the script is probably one that'll be relatively solid, because Marvel knows they can't afford to mess that up. So my excitement for the movie has increased more than anything else, unlike Superman. That's it. Sorry, that one was more
Do you
boring.
think that it'll be from Captain America, like when he said they're coming, or they confirmed it was the Illuminati? Like Reed Richards would have to be part of that. Well, he doesn't have to be, but I'm pretty sure maybe this Reed has been communicating with possibly Namor, who's also an Illuminati. Professor X is an Illuminati. Doctor Strange is the Illuminati. Like, I don't know how they gonna do the Illuminati thing when everybody seems to be like off world or doing different things at different times. But this is our first introduction to Namor in Black Panther. So now all of a sudden, like, where is he getting this tech from to be speaking to niggas in different multiverses?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they can play on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
My whole thing is like, I get it. Like, they made changes to the movie, but it's not really doing anything for me, because I'm not a fan of like James Gunn with trying to make a serious flick. Like, as we've discussed, he's made Scooby Doo, he's made Guardians of the Galaxy, like these jokey type movies. Granted, most of them hit, some miss. I don't see Superman as a jokey type character for his movie setting. So if I go see this, it might be only if I still have my Regal pass. That's all I can say, because they're not really getting my money.
What about
Fantastic
F4 for you?
Four?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what about F4 for you?
Oh yeah, Fantastic Four, hands down. I'm looking forward to that one. I've always liked the Fantastic Four franchise. Granted, their movies have been terrible coming up, but I always liked the Fantastic Four comics, and the fact that it seems like they actually took their time with this one, seeing that Disney took over Fantastic Four from Fox. they're making sure that they actually do this right. Ben Grimm looks like Ben in the daggone comics, and people are complaining about it. He looks like how he looks in the daggone comics. Like, what more can you ask for? The last two, but this one's comic book accurate. People always preaching and praising comic book accuracy, and now that they give it to you, a lot of people saying he's ugly, he's deformed, like da 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 da. You can't please nobody. And Johnny, even though they haven't really talked about, like said much, or even you even heard him say anything, I strongly hope he keeps the same presence that he has in every way, shape, or form. Always playful, outgoing, like that kind of character for him. So Johnny Storm has always been one of my favorite characters out of the Fantastic Four itself. So I always hope they always do him right.
I think the trailer from the dialogue within the trailer between Reed and Sue kind of alluded to the fact that he probably would just be the same old Johnny that you used to.
Mm-hmm.
Doubling back though over to D's question really quickly. That is a good question, because I really don't know how, even if they were to usher in anybody, and that's really been my gripe with everything that's been MCU. At least in this recent multiverse saga, we haven't had enough time to understand like where these characters' ambitions even will be at, outside of like maybe you could say Captain America. You know, we've gotten a decent amount of content from him. If Wanda were to happen to come back, we had a decent enough amount of content from her. But overall, like for any new characters or anything like that they were to introduce, the ambitions is very hard to kind of see a narrative that's been drawn around it, to where if they were to have an end credit scene, and maybe, you know what, maybe that was the executive decision at Marvel when it came to Fantastic Four, is because they knew that this would be an issue. They just figured, let's not even try to tackle it, or they tackle it in a loose, very, very loose way, similar to, like you said, happened at the end credit for Captain America, where it's just, it's not really saying anything, but it's still saying something. So like maybe it'll be something very vague that builds off of the "they are coming" that came from Captain America, but it's equally as vague. I don't love that, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe if we got something of substance at the end of Thunderbolts that could kind of really push things a little bit further, it can make it more appropriate for a smaller mention or vague mention at the end of Fantastic Four. My worry though is just what the first 30 minutes to and that's the event, the Doomsday movie. Is Doomsday a 3-hour runtime?
Speculating, probably like upper 2+ hours.
I would say like it probably need to be around 2. I don't know, but I feel like it needs to be at this point. Like if Fantastic Four doesn't have anything that kind of adds to the overall MCU, the timeline, narrative, there needs to be at least at minimum like a 2 hour and 50 minute timeline or timestamp for this movie, because you gonna need an hour just to set everything up. Then you use the other hour and 50 minutes to kind of progress the story to where it makes sense for Secret Wars. So and don't get me wrong, I don't even know if I want that, because I don't even love the like 3-hour movie thing. I really don't. It's hard. Like I like to be able to go back and watch a movie, and sometimes when it's that long, I just don't want to do it, because it's like, all right, I gotta have 3 hours of my time available. Like I love The Godfather. I thought that Godfather is a really good movie. I've rewatched The Godfather 1 or 2 times in my entire life, because it's just that long. So I don't particularly like that either. I just don't know whether they would have a choice if there's nothing that's kind of setting us up. The other, I get, is and I know that this is going to kind of upset y'all, and I'm not saying this is, but the other thing that I guess would be available, because I was trying to sit here and think about what could possibly be available to set up one of these movies after Fantastic Four, we would have to go back to the Disney Plus TV series side, and it wouldn't be any of the Wakanda stuff, but it would, I guess, be Wonder Man. That would be the one last opportunity that Marvel could potentially have to set anything up. maybe I don't love that. I think that that's really a reach unless and maybe they're treating Wonder Man kind of like Captain Marvel. Remember how like that Captain Marvel movie, like nobody was really looking for it, nobody was asking for it. It felt like it came out of nowhere, and it was just kind of like a movie there. But Marvel was using it to boost Captain Marvel knowledge, but
Yes.
also it like that's how it was. I'm wondering if Wonder Man is gonna be the same thing on the TV side, where we know that this is the last thing that possibly could come out before the secret or before the Doomsday movie that could have any true significance, and so they pound a lot of information into that just to make people more interested in Wonder Man and to boost their sales on the Disney Plus side. I'm starting to wonder that, but that's the only thing that I
That would
can.
be a terrible idea
I
because
agree.
it's like
I agree.
using using TV. People not gonna sit around for Marvel TV like this. A lot of shit Marvel put out isn't like Daredevil season 1 and 2 when it
Right.
first came out. That's what Marvel TV and Punisher season
Mm-hmm.
1. Everybody's like, "Yo, Marvel really winning right now." But then you got some lackluster shit coming out, and it's like I'm not about to sit up here and waste an hour of my day, for 8 weeks watching the same bullshit over and over.
Yeah.
And it's like you think about it, like for real, if they really need this movie to do some shit, it might have to be as long as this Jackson 5 movie when we
Yeah.
was kids. That shit was a 5 hour
Yeah.
movie. For real.
Honestly.
And I haven't watched the movie since I was a fucking kid.
Yeah.
But Marvel needs this to have replayability. Like you can't just have a long ass Avengers movie and then they go to streaming and niggas is like, I don't want to watch
Whatever.
the Avengers movie for three and a half
Right.
hours. And it's
Yep.
like with the cast announcement, like I'm so like it was cool seeing Ian McClellan, Patrick Stewart, James Marsden. Mind you, they not might not have significant roles, but it's like you're bringing them back from a 20-year, like a 20-year, 25-year break from the movies that they did before. Like it's been 20 years since we seen James Marsden as Cyclops and X Men.
Mm-hmm.
Like y'all doing a lot of bullshit, and it's like people like we'll care about these characters. That's Marvel knows that we will, but it's a lot of niggas in high school that weren't even born when Ian McClellan was Magneto.
Right.
It's a lot
Not
of
gonna
people
have that
going to these
connection.
movies. Yeah, they like, who is this Cyclops dude? Who is the dude playing Cyclops? Why are people clapping? I don't care about him. Who is this dude playing Magneto? It's not Michael Fassbender. Granted, they probably seen like Days of Future Past, but it's not gonna have the same weight as it is for us. And it's like,
Right.
nigga, like you got to understand the audience that was watching old X-Men movies has families now. Niggas
Yeah.
probably ain't even got time to be seeing that these niggas is back in the movies. It's like it's like they
And or
grasping
even
at straws and
reequating
it's
their kids with it too, because
desperation.
like, yeah. No, sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
you,
because
but
like you
just
could do that with Spider-Man.
right.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's exactly to the point that you're saying is like not only that, those people are older and it's harder for them to even necessarily keep up with all of the Marvel movies products that come out. But then also those same people that you're describing, they don't have the time per se to sit down with their kids and go through every single Fox movie that's come out that has these iterations of these different characters that like you and I know, people around our age
Mm-hmm.
know and older, but that's like you can't expect that. You can't expect people to have that much time, especially with just how like the world is right now. People they can't afford to do that. So, like you said, they having to go into that movie blind. More than likely, there'll be a good percentage that are, and this is the demographic that's like you said, younger children and such. And then it becomes, and this is something that's supposed to be more like a no-no in business, is that you're not really supposed to necessarily fully ignore
Mm-hmm.
like one of your buyers. You should kind of have something that's rewarding for them with your product. And yeah, I mean, maybe you could say that's like Tom Holland's in it or like some of the newer Avengers are in it. But again, in order for it to come all together as a like a narrative wise, they're gonna have screen time with these people. They're gonna have to explain these people. And again, you only got like you said, even at that, it's even at the 3 hour mark, you still only got 3 hours unless you make it 5 hours, like you were saying before, which that's not a good idea. So that's why I was kind of hoping like some of this stuff would get revealed to us earlier, so it could take a little bit of pressure off the Avengers movies.
Since we're
You
already
think they
on,
would treat these movies? You said what, Rob?
no, go ahead.
I was saying, you think they would treat these like I've never seen like The Hobbit or like Lord of the Rings movies, but it seems like they have some type of continuation. Like how we had a continuation from Infinity War to Endgame. Like with Doomsday, it would seem like they could do a 2 hour, 20 minute, 2 hour, 30 minute film, then have it continue to the next. I feel like this first film they shouldn't be defeating any villain in this movie because that would be rushing too much shit. Maybe at the
Hmm.
end of the movie, the villain comes in and the shit starts getting crazy. Then
Right.
we could spill into the next movie, and you can have a filler movie. But it's like in this movie, I don't want to see. It is called Doom War. These niggas should not get the upper hand on Doom in this movie, or fight him to a standstill in this movie because that's just like we wasted 2 hours and 30 minutes of nostalgia, some fight scenes, some comedy, just for y'all to make $1 billion on these tickets. It's like just y'all rushed this movie. Now let's just build on this Doctor Doom shit. Like I don't. I mean,
Fluid narrative,
that's
kind
probably
of like how
what
Harry
they're going
Potter
to.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment. I would like if it was similar to that, where it's kind of like you get to the end of the Harry Potter movie and it may have had nothing, like it may have had 1 minute or like one small reference. Like I can't remember which one it is. I don't know if anybody else in here real big on Harry Potter, because then y'all could just tell me the name of the movie. But the one where like Sirius Black was introduced. Um I can't remember what it was, but anyways, they had this character called Sirius Black that was introduced in the movie, and that wasn't like the big bad, but it was somebody who was like discussed, and they thought that it was an enemy. I guess spoiler alert to anybody that hasn't seen Harry Potter, but Sirius Black ended up becoming somebody that was like an ally. But then when you got to the end of the movie, that was where the actual real big bad, they kind of like added to the narrative, and they did it they do it in every single Harry Potter movie, where they would add to the narrative of the big bad, and then that movie kind of like added something, and then when you get to the next movie you might pick up with more of the big bad. I can't remember what the bad's name. Y'all know I'm terrible with names, but I can't remember what it is for Harry Potter. But to me, I would like to see if they did something like that with this one. They kind of got it with the Infinity Saga with Thanos, but it was like, again, going to your point, D, I don't know if I necessarily needed to be seeing Thanos. It made sense during the Infinity Saga, and I want to give them a little bit of like leeway, because ultimately everything did come together well. But if you got the big bad, us fighting the big bad to even if it's not a standstill, because Thanos still got his wish. When we get to the second movie, Endgame, right? The fight with Thanos don't feel as important. It just don't hold that same gravity. And I feel like if you got that same scenario here with Doom, it's to the point that you said, it's like you just wasting time. It's not it doesn't really hold as much weight as it probably should have.
Y'all think with granted, they say they might do Kang later down the line, but they've killed Thanos twice already, and I feel like the Secret War scene where Doom takes Thanos' skull or kills him or whatever, it's like y'all could do that, but that'd be the third time you killed a big bad that you built up for a decade, damn near.
Yeah.
They could just do that. They could do that shit with Kang. Like the Council of Kangs can still be a threat looming in the background, and it could be like a scene where they're going to Doom, and then Doom does that to like the head Kang or something. Like, I mean, we just spitballing here, but it's like, damn, y'all, like this movie comes out next year. The cast isn't
Yeah.
even fully revealed, and y'all still working on a script. I wouldn't even be mad at Marvel if they said, "Yo, we're gonna push this movie back 8 months,
Yeah.
a year, even," because it's like, damn, y'all can put out 2 movies and just let it breathe. Just let the shit breathe for a while. Let us miss Marvel, and then that way,
Yeah.
when the shit come out, we'll be good.
I think
Yeah.
just a couple things, and then we could play the video since it talks about Doomsday and everything like that. Some things that I've actually started to learn is that I thought that Marvel starting the shoots of movies before the script was done was something that they didn't do frequently. come to find out that is actually the opposite. Most of the movies or projects that they have released hasn't had a completely finished script that they're shooting on. So this is pretty par for the course for Marvel at this present point in time. Not saying that it's probably in essence a good thing or a bad thing, but that is one of the factors. But let's watch this movie because I think it'll actually ease a lot of y'all work. Not movie, but YouTube video. I think it will ease a lot of y'all worries from Den of Nerds as well in regards to Doomsday and Secret Wars. Because I think Doomsday, they're going to follow the same plot just like Infinity War Endgame. Doom is going to win in that first movie at some point in time. And that's how Battle World is created. That's how he gets his God Emperor Doom title, all of that jazz. So if you don't mind, T, if you could pull up that video, please.
Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and we just got some massive updates about the plan for RDJ's Doctor Doom. Several insiders have come forward to explain what the original plan was for Jonathan Majors' Kang, what the original plan was for RDJ's Doctor Doom, and it does seem like that was a very old plan, separate from Kang. And based on what these insiders are saying now, we can determine that there absolutely was a plan for Doctor Doom. There was a plan for Kang, and we now know how that plan changed over time. So this really has to do with two main scoopers out there, Daniel RPK and Alex Perez. And it all started several days ago when Daniel RPK started tweeting about the Kang Dynasty. And basically his attitude was, I would have loved to see what the Kang Dynasty would have been like. Seems like he's really unhappy that they went away from Kang. And the thing is, Daniel's not alone in this. A lot of people are frustrated with the pivot into Kang, mostly because they view it as this total last minute change. They went completely away from their plan. And so by Daniel talking about this, he sort of opened the floodgates of people to come in and comment on what was going on. And a lot of people were commenting to Daniel that they believed that Doctor Doom was always the plan. And believe it or not, there are reasons that fans believe this. There's actually evidence that Marvel was always going to do Doctor Doom. And we're going to get more into that within this video because the scoopers are kind of agreeing with that. They're saying it's way different than what we thought was going on, but they are essentially saying there was a plan for Doctor Doom. And I will take a moment here just to remind you of two things. Number one, the Russo brothers recently said that the plan for RDJ Doctor Doom came from Kevin Feige and that plan was at least 2 years old, which would predate when Jonathan Majors got in trouble. And then I'd also like to bring up a report that I bring up all the time. It was on the Hot Mic podcast where Jeff Snyder said in the middle of all the craziness going on with Jonathan Majors that he had heard from one of his best sources ever that Doctor Doom was always the villain of Secret War. And so that combined with the Russos recently coming out to say that the Doctor Doom RDJ thing was in the works for 2+ years. I mean, that's the reason why fans believe that Doctor Doom was always the plan. So let's keep going here because other insiders saw Daniel talking about this. They chimed in. Suddenly Alex Perez enters and he starts talking about this. Now what Alex says here is that the Kang Dynasty would have had separate Avengers teams divided as they took on Immortus, Centurion, and Rama Tut. The Conqueror, who is the main Kang from Quantumania, he would have returned in the third act from quote-unquote the Beyond to take his revenge against the variants and become the new He Who Remains. Now, that lines up with a lot of other stuff we've heard about in the past, rumors that were even reported by Daniel RPK himself. And I think it's kind of obvious if you look at the post-credit scene for the Kang Dynasty, which obviously came out before Jonathan Majors got in trouble, before the whole freaking plan changed. And the post-credit scene does have those main 3 Kang variants, right? Immortus, Centurion, and Rama Tut. So I absolutely believe that the original version of the Kang Dynasty would have seen the 616 Avengers fight, possibly even across time, against Immortus, Centurion, and Rama Tut. And then the friggin' Kang the Conqueror guy that got sucked into that weird crystal at the end of Quantumania, he was going to return from the Beyond, take his revenge, create Battle World, and be the new He Who Remains. So fans were like, okay, we get it. So you're saying this was Kang Dynasty, but Alex, Daniel, are you guys really suggesting that Secret Wars, which would have been separate from Kang Dynasty, are you really saying that that movie would have not had Doctor Doom? And of course, the question's like, then why did Jeff Snyder say that Doctor Doom was always the villain of Secret Wars? And why is the plan for RDJ as Doctor Doom 2 years old, older than the release of Quantumania and Jonathan Majors getting in trouble? And the answer is fascinating. It says here, the idea was to leave Doom out of it because He Who Remains and his variants all agreed on keeping Doom and others out of the picture in order to ensure they would thrive. And when they'd lose, Doom would have been teased as the evil they were trying to keep at bay. But don't you see, that actually confirms that Doom would have been involved in Secret Wars. Think about it. We have heard forever that the X-Men were going to be a part of Secret Wars. And that's partially because one of the reasons you even do Secret Wars is to have the X-Men and the Avengers and all of the Fox characters and the Sony characters and the Marvel characters. You want all those characters together. So that was always the promise. So you're telling me that Alex is sitting here telling us that the plot would have revolved around how Doom and others, which is obviously the X-Men, would have been taken out of the picture so that the Kangs would have thrived. And yet we know for sure that the mutants, one of the things taken out of the picture by He Who Remains, would have been a huge part of Secret Wars, but you're trying to tell me Dr. Doom would not have been? And in fact, by all accounts, what Alex is admitting here is that Doom would have been the real big bad. He would have been the true evil that the Kangs were trying to prevent within the multiverse. And that connects to the whole scoop from Jeff Snyder about how Doom was always the plan. But I am getting a little bit ahead of myself. There's more to break down here. So what Alex says next is now you're getting the aftermath of what would have been basically the next saga, but with Doom at the forefront instead of Kang mixed in with a couple of ideas from the previous scripts. Okay, so let's try to break this down as simply as possible. In the original version of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, it seems like you would have had the Kang variants taking over, fighting against the heroes of 616 throughout time in Avengers the Kang Dynasty. Beyonder Kang would have come back, killed all of his variants, and probably just remade the timeline. Remember, he does not agree with the rest of the Council of Kang. And then we would have went into Secret Wars, and we would have had all the characters. Everything. We would have had Doom, we would have had X-Men, we would have had all the characters. Because remember, it was the original He Who Remains and the Council of Kangs that didn't want Doom and didn't want the mutants. The guy that didn't agree with them, he was going to become Beyonder. And so at that point, you would have had mutants, Doom, and a lot of other weird stuff in Secret Wars. And it's very likely that that would have built up Doctor Doom as this big, great, evil thing that maybe they should have kept behind closed doors. Like maybe He Who Remains actually had it right. And then that would have led into the mutant saga. Now, let's talk about that for a second, because that's kind of dope, man. Okay, so this is crazy. And that means that the change that Marvel Studios made was take the plot, which was likely going to be in Secret Wars and definitely in the next saga, and they've now fast-tracked that. So now that is actually going to be the focus of Doomsday. And so this whole idea of He Who Remains stripping Doom out of the universe, that was always a part of the plan. It was going to be a big deal for Doom. It is still a big deal for Doom. It's now just being explored in Avengers 5. And instead of setting up Dr. Doom as this really crazy evil threat that the Kangs were probably right in trying to prevent, now we're going to get Dr. Doom presented as a sympathetic villain, a guy who just wants to get back in the timeline and save the multiverse. And oh, you know what? Maybe just be God as well. You know, it's kind of cool to be God. So Doom is God, you know? We also seem to have this new idea with dark versions of the OG Avengers, evil versions of characters like Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff, and Tony Stark via the Victor Von Doom thing. And it seems like that's now a big part of the focus of Doomsday as well. And there's this X-Men element with the incursions, but that was likely also going to be in Kang Dynasty because it was being set up. So I gotta be honest here, guys. I'm looking at what the insiders are saying. I'm considering all the rumors and things that we've heard from the past, and I think Jeff Snyder was right. I think Doctor Doom was always going to be the villain of Secret Wars. It just depends on how you interpret that, because essentially Alex and Daniel both admit that Doctor Doom was the real evil that the Kangs were trying to prevent, and that idea would have been explored in Secret Wars, and yet somehow they don't believe that means that Doom was always in Secret Wars and that he was always the villain. And maybe there's some nuance there, but I could see how both things are true. And it really does seem like what Marvel really did was take threads that were going to be a part of Secret Wars and then explored in the Mutant Saga, and now they have remade these two movies and they will focus on that character, and that'll be in the first movie, and then Secret Wars will explore Doom's reality. Okay, now there's one last thing I got to talk about in this video, and it's kind of wild here, because I think there's still a chance that you get Doctor Doom as a big threat in the next saga. I know that sounds crazy, especially with some of the stuff they're cooking with RDJ Doom. Like, we're all like, what? How could that even work? But big time insiders have said that there might be a plan to keep RDJ as Doom past Secret Wars. And now that we have this info from Alex, we can kind of see why that would make sense. They were already going to do that. So now they can just set Doom up much better in these next two movies and then just keep him for the mutant saga. And on the business side of things, you might say there's no way they can afford Robert Downey Jr. for 10 more years or whatever the mutant saga is going to be. But I will just tell you this, as far as I understand it from people I've talked to in the industry, if these next two Avengers movies make over $2 billion and they're huge successes, then it's actually the opposite of that. It's more like they can't afford not to use RDJ for 10 more years. Think about what has happened over the past 3 to 4 years without him. There's just no way around it. If these movies blow up, you're gonna get Robert Downey Jr. Doom for like 10 more years. That's what I really think is happening. By the way, I totally want that. Anyway, there's definitely my opinion sprinkled in here too. I'm just trying to do my best as far as reporting it all to you, making sense of it, but I honestly do think I have a pretty good angle on this. I think I understand what's going on. Let me know what you think about everything I've reported here. Do you disagree with me? Do you think there's a different take? Let me know. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.
All right, how y'all feeling now?
That nigga Jeff Snyder is straight liar.
Deadpool is right. They really gonna have Wolverine playing what's based till he's 90, and they're gonna do it the same way to Robert Downey Jr.
Who knows? It's just speculation. I don't really know.
Well, I'll say this: if that were to be the plan, then that gives me more reason. Sage, you brought up in our personal chat, possible ideas of things that they can use this to push forward in the future. I really like that idea. With the idea of, I want it completely. Marvel needs to not. They need to not get rid of villains so easily. Be it a Thanos, be it a Kang. Even if we only have this short kind of mishap that happened with Kang, I don't think that it's a smart idea for them to just completely axe the character. I think it would be better for this character to be used at a later point. And if they're gonna have Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU for possibly another 10 years, given the success of Avengers, I don't think that they can afford to not have a character like that and to not introduce more characters like Kang, even if they're threats to just specific areas and different teams or whatever. And that's my problem with here. Like, that's my worry when I hear about Robert Downey Jr. as Doom for 10 years. Is because, okay, we're at 2025. You can buy yourself time. You could call it, okay, we'll buy ourselves time till 2035 with Robert Downey Jr. But then is the MCU just done at that point? Like, if they're not building anybody up and they keep getting rid of any villain that they bring that is good, they one shot any villain that they bring in that is good, that does work for a larger Avengers movie, what happens when Robert Downey Jr. is gone? I just don't see I don't see any way for us to not be in the exact same scenario if they just try, if they go off algorithms, which if they see the two successes of Avengers Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, and that's the conclusion that they're willing to come to. Look, I get that the nerds might be excited about it. I can get where other people could be excited about it. You can, in a lot of ways, contribute a lot of the success of the MCU to Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal. But if you run on just that one analytic and do not try to build up more in the process of all of this, I see it being a hard decline even before you get to 2035, and definitely a decline when you get to 2035 or after 2035 if that's the game plan, is to just run off whatever the successes of these next two Avengers movies. I think that's crazy. I don't want to see that. I don't. I really want Robert Downey Jr. to be short term, and I want them to try and push the future forward. Be it new characters, be it new universe with new characters, or be it a reimagining or a recreation of old characters. I don't want this vibe that we've had for the last couple of years, had in the previous eras and generations that's worked and sagas that's worked, to just continue on till 2035. No.
I would agree with that because it's like bringing him back, and then now you have Hugh Jackman. They really gonna milk that, and it's like, damn, y'all, like we get it. We got evil versions of heroes. We got different variants and shit like that. At the end of this Secret Wars movie, I hope they blow Earth 616 up and
Yes.
go somewhere else. Hell, they can even recast Spider Man for all I fucking care. They can just have everybody fucking new and be like, this is the new Marvel. That one, Doom, really did a number on this Earth, this timeline, and the shit really is done. And now we have like an actual Doom or something. Cause it's like, bro, this ties into the script that I read. Like I believe that it was a fan script, but what Den of Nerds reported, a lot of that was in the script that I read. It was like it starts off with the Council of Kangs. You have Immortus, you have Ramatut and the Centurion. But the thing is, they have Magneto, Professor X, um, Storm, Cyclops, and Wolverine hanging on X crosses. And it was like, we need to rid the time stream, the timelines of the X-Men and Avengers. And it's like, oh shit, like they really doing this. You jump to the movie and everything is fine, and it's like in one day the Kangs come, and then Doctor Strange comes and warns them like, yo, the 10 rings, the bangles, the Kangs are coming for them because it's going to help them rid the timelines, which doesn't make sense because they've already at that point they show Loki like saying, no, we run out of time, as he's holding on to the tree because like timelines are disappearing because of the Kangs. But they know it's on Earth 616, but they don't come there first for some reason, even though it helped them finish the job faster. And they're really like the whole Earth at this point is just destroyed. You really have your Avengers and some government leaders and a few civilians left. Like that's really it. Like all the major cities are just turned to ash. And the whole script was basically the Kangs having their own conflict, like Ramatut and Centurion against Immortus because they they felt beneath him or less than. And it was like, okay, cool. And then I could see where they were going, talking about where Doom was going to come in, but they never mentioned him in the movie, in this script. Granted, it was an early draft, but it was just like it was a lot of shoehorning in the Avengers that they didn't have during this time. So you had a lot of screen time from Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, Wonder Man, and it was like it was forcing a lot of that in there, and it doesn't make you care about the characters, even though a lot of them make sacrifices. It's like with the characters that they're gonna be using, it just wasn't enough to really be like, oh damn, they gotta fight Doom. And it's like, bro, like y'all should have just never killed your main Avengers because this shit is not looking good right now. And then the saving graces they gonna have, not they gonna have in the script, the saving grace was having uh Hugh Jackman, Deadpool, um, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and some other X-Men from the TVA coming in to help save the day. But it was just like the shit was just all over the place. There was no mention of Battle World, but it did focus a lot on Kang and the Beyond and his family. And then once he came back and defeated the other Kangs, that's what I don't want to have in the movie. He defeated all the other Kangs in one movie, and it kind of just cuts to black after that. Like there's no mention of anything else. And from the reports, it's like, damn, if we really got rid of Kang, like how's Doctor Doom gonna be introduced now if it's not in the Fantastic Four universe? And if he is introduced, and like he was saying, oh, it's just gonna be like an evil version of Iron Man, but at first he's a sympathetic villain. It's like, bro, but when does that tie in? Because this will just, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just all over the place right now. This shit is confusing as hell.
No, I understand though. I think that that's just the nature of it, is that it is, it's confusing to try and understand. All right, like if we even go back to the Den of Nerds video and we say, okay, well, we know that that script that came out may have been more or less the general direction they were going to be going in with Kang, but now we don't have Kang to this extent. And we fast track Doctor Strange, or excuse me, Doctor Doom. Okay, if we fast track the events with Doctor Doom, again, it's to the point that you just got done making. How exactly is the way that Doom becomes this threat or becomes this problem fully explained, or is it something yet again that's just kind of thrown at us and we have to accept it? And then beyond that, is the story just going to do some big thing in the Doomsday movie to kind of establish Doom's power? And if that is the case, is it going like that's the, like I just worry about that, because my thing is the only other thing, like I again, y'all know how I go by this. I kind of try to go off of what previously has come out, even though obviously they can have a completely different idea or script or direction that they're gonna go. But until I see it, the only thing I have to work off of is what's already come out. So it makes me wonder, is this gonna be something similar to Thanos, where Doomsday will end with some grandiose achievement or feat by Doom, and then when we get to the second movie, nothing really is necessarily on par with that because of just screen time and or screen duration or screen time duration. It's like that part I'm a little concerned about. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that they probably will need to do some type of they will need to do this to some type of extent on this, only because they got it. They did, like you just said, they will have to fast track everything to make it brought up to pace for this movie. And then, I mean, yes, that could possibly allow for you to flesh more things out in Doomsday, but, or excuse me, in Secret Wars. But what if Doomsday leave because it had to be rushed a little bit and because there wasn't enough around, like events surrounding it, that it kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth going into Secret Wars? Even if you said, okay, well, I understand that Doomsday was a part one, which was what a lot of us did, Infinity Wars. Okay, you say, okay, I understand that it's a part one. You still could potentially have that sour taste in your mouth from the ending of Doomsday, even with you knowing that it is a part one, in ways that I don't think we have seen before, because of a lot of the chaotic state of the narrative itself. I don't know. I'm not trying to sound pessimistic. I do think that they got a game plan, and it's not like DC. It's not like Sony, right? Where Marvel has had blunder after blunder, and the only thing that we have is blunders to go by. We have seen Marvel succeed. We have seen what happens when Marvel kind of lets the right people weave things together. So it could work out perfectly fine. I just am having a very hard time in ways that I have not had with Marvel MCU before, in regards to exactly how everything would be explained and how it would make sense for these two movies coming out, one next year and one the year after.
Y'all know my reaction. I think they in the driver's seat and comfortable control right now, cruise control right now. And I think they're just waiting for the next two movies. I'm curious what this Ironheart series is gonna do, since they were teasing about Mephisto. I'm curious also, since the Spider-Man movie is coming out right after Doomsday, that's supposed to be taking place in the meantime of while Doomsday is going on. So I don't think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is gonna be that big of a factor in that film, because I think he's gonna be dealing with some shit over on his end while all of this shit is going on. Which I'm super intrigued about. And then to see the 3 Spider-Man for the Secret Wars and everything like that. So, you know me, I'm hyped for the shit. I think that they have the opportunity to do what they're supposed to do. And then knowing now that Doom was always a part of it, it makes it easier for me to make the switch in my mind between Kang and Doom. at least in my estimation. But T, I don't think you've spoken about this yet.
Yeah. With this whole thing, I can see what Marvel's doing. I strongly hope, like, we could have RDJ for 10 years, but if they do him right, then it can work. But we already established that he's only gonna be here until what, the next big film. So we get Doomsday and then what, Secret Wars after that. So
Yeah.
he's probably gonna be one off after that, just like Thanos after Endgame. But the problem is, we get what, Doomsday next year. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 Marvel movies before then, 3 or 4. So for us to really get, how many movies did RDJ signed up for? What, 5?
I believe it's just two.
Just 2. They need.
Well, that's everybody
Well, the thing
speculating.
is, they'll have to go with the same Thanos formula, where you have to sprinkle RDJ in some of these cutscenes so we can see Doom, like he said, he's been here the whole time. He's been working in the background, everything going on, like him taking down the Council of Kings, um, him doing something with Reed Richards, or like anything, what have you. Um, and with that, like, I strongly hope that it develops and blossoms into something good. I don't want to be sitting there for 2.5 hours of pretty much dog poop just like smeared on the screen. I need them to really like do their thing, because you got some heavy hitters coming up. You're giving us hope for Thunderbolts. You're giving us hope for Fantastic Four. We need to really actually do something to keep the butts in the seat, because people have Marvel burnout and they may not want to like bunk it. I'll just wait till it comes on Disney Plus and watch it at home, because why would I spend time watching this in theaters and spending my money there? But overall, like, I just hope it's good. That's all I can do is just hope.
I wouldn't be mad at Spider-Man being like overtime for Doomsday. I don't think that that's going to be the case, but I actually really wouldn't be mad at that.
You said overtime. What do you mean?
Overtime, like it basically, like, it's a Spider-Man focused movie, but it's basically just picking up from where we left off with Doomsday, just like going over to like, all right, this is everything that happened at the end of Doomsday, but let's go check in with Spider-Man. But it's like legit building off of the story from Doomsday. I don't know whether that's going to be the case though.
Doomsday.
I know it's in.
Battleworld is supposed to be the ending of. That's what everybody's speculating. Battleworld will be created by Doomsday, so any movie that takes place after it would have to technically be within Battleworld, which I don't think is going to be hard for them to do whatever Spider-Man movie they're trying to do in Battleworld, for my estimation at least.
I just really would not be. I really would enjoy if it was like Spider-Man trying to navigate everything that happened, and the things that we weren't able to learn in Doomsday, we were able to learn as Spider-Man was trying to catch up and learn on his own, because he wasn't one of the central figures in everything that happened in Doomsday. I don't think that that's the case, because like everything that, and I mean, then again, it's all speculation. It's not that anything that they've said so far has been concrete, but from the rumors and such that have come, it like just really looks like it's a Spider-Man movie. Like you said, it's a Spider-Man movie that's taking place after the events of Doomsday, but it's still just a Spider-Man movie. Or excuse me, during my apologies, during Doomsday. But it just seemed like that still sets you up for a regular Spider-Man movie, with then at the end something that signifies something that we would have seen from Doomsday. And that's fine. That, like, normally that would be fine. Normally that should be fine. You shouldn't need anything more from a Spider-Man. But again, going back to the part that really concerns me, with us not getting as much information before, it would be nice if, since we do have this movie in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, that this movie was used to give us more of that information that we did not get because we had to have an under 3 hour runtime for Doomsday.
All right.
It's weird. It's weird.
I
We
got
just
a- I
gotta
got a
we gotta
question,
wait
though.
and see.
Y'all think they too like actor heavy, like too focused on the actor's name in these movies? Like
No.
having these chairs is like when they showed the chairs, it's like, yo, we see the actors' names, but it's like, yo, like we should be caring more about the character instead of the actor.
I think that's the reason why people were so excited though, because of the characters that those actors are playing. You know, people were figuring out like drop of a dime as soon as the next person came up and they seen their name. Oh, what character did they play in the Marvel Cinematic Universe throughout all of its time, or even the Fox universe or anything like that? So I think people, they did it meticulously how they did it, with gradually dropping the names to give people more of the opportunity to research who exactly did this person play back in the day. How did they play him? What type of vibe I'm supposed to get? Everything like that. Like, they're doing it very strategically to the point where they're letting you, or giving you time to be able to research these things. They're giving you time. Hey, we dropped all of these names from these previous X-Men movies, so go back and watch them X-Men movies now if you want a refresher, or watch a YouTube video of somebody explaining it to you, just so you can get where all of these people come from. And even at that, even if we doing all of that, they could have a completely different timeline from where they're from, because this is a different universe per se. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same Fox universe. It could be something completely different, just with the same characters, type of thing.
So I do agree with, to kind of add on to Rob's point as well. I do think that there is an opportunity where they're trying to possibly grow intrigue out of the audience, because they don't have anything narratively to do that. So they're trying to pivot to where they do it with characters. And at first I was very concerned about this, but as more information is coming out, I don't think we have to worry about the amount of characters and the amount of actors and such that we are going to be seeing, because I do believe that, and it's already kind of been reported, it's going to be a bunch of teams. So you're not like, when you see you might see 12 X-Men. I know that's not the real number, but just saying it for now. You might see 12 X-Men, but you got to understand, when you see those X-Men on screen, they're all going to be on screen for the most part together. You might see 8 different Avengers, but when you see those Avengers, they're all going to be on screen together. So really, when you break them up into groups, it actually is a very like the screen time versus in like dialogue will ultimately be relatively condensed, because it's just going to be this team talking to this team or fighting this team, and it's just going to bounce back and forth between, like, again, 4 different teams. So that leaves you with more time for like Doom. That leaves you for more time for the other areas that may be bridged. If there's any characters that's not assigned to these teams that play a pivotal role, such as, I would imagine, a Doctor Strange, you'll see like they'll have enough time for it to actually be able to work and to be fleshed out well. And that's why you're gonna hear more characters' names. And I don't think that we need to get freaked out by that and trying to wonder how are they gonna also fit all this into the 3-hour time frame. But I really just don't think that that's a problem, because they're going the route that they are. And on top of that, I think that they needed to do this. As much as I don't like the answer that I'm about to give, I think that they needed to do it for the simple fact that we do not have enough that is going to drive people to the seats based off of the narrative. So we need characters to make up for that lack of narrative that we have. And it's actually, in all honesty, it's probably one of the smarter moves that Marvel's done. doing it two-folded like that. They'll be in teams, but they'll be there to draw attention.
All right. Anybody else got anything else?
T said the best thing, I think, which was simply, you just got to have hope at this point.
Yeah.
The narrative is not going to tell you anything. And hope.
Is
That's
the
it.
worst of all evils.
Well, y'all
and it
felt-
belongs to the torment of man.
Will y'all feel a lot better if Thunderbolts is at minimum an 8 out of 10 and Fantastic Four is at minimum a 9/9.5 out of 10?
Nigga, they need
I
to
believe
be
those
tens across
movies.
the board. Goddamn.
They don't have to be 10s.
I
They don't have to be
They
10s.
both going to be good. I
You
do
know-
believe both going to be good.
You know what superhero universe has to be 10s? I feel like DC. I feel like they're given a very short leash right now. I think Marvel has at least
A little
given themselves
world.
a little bit more of a wiggle room where Fantastic Four doesn't necessarily have to be a 10 out of
Not
10.
perfect. It don't have to be perfect.
What was Marvel's last movie? What was their last two movies? Damn near.
Captain America and then their Deadpool.
Yeah.
Which one was meh, even though it wasn't terrible, as people like to make it seem. It wasn't as terrible as it was made out to be. And the other one was very well received. Like,
Yeah.
so
I would agree
Thunder.
with that, Rob. I would say a 8 and a 9.
Well, I think I'm confident that they can be that. Like, I feel very good about those movies. It's not a matter of those movies changing how I feel about Avengers game or the Avengers movies. The thing that's kind of fixed with that is the narrative. And if Thunderbolts doesn't do something to add to the narrative, and Fantastic Four doesn't do anything to add to the narrative, it just makes me confused how all of it will come together. And I don't know if anything can necessarily change that, i.e. why I said at this point I think the only thing that's left is just, you know, they've had some successes. Don't treat them like DC.
Yeah.
Don't treat them like Sony. That's the best that I could do at this point.
Here's one thing that I can say, and then we can move on. I think where I'm getting from y'all is y'all are afraid that how they're going to be able to tell the story of Doom in the course of that first Doomsday. And I think we have to remember that it's not just that one Avengers movie, it's also the two. It's also the Secret War. So they don't necessarily have to spell out everything in regards to Doom and why he's doing it and everything like that. I feel like the main thing they have to show in Doomsday is how the fuck Kang got taken out and how the fuck has Doom taken his place. If you focus on that, I feel like you're gold money. And then you drop little tidbits or Easter eggs for people to figure out in the Secret Wars when we see him in his God complex and all of this shit. But then we see him start to crack at the seams as the story goes on to show that he's in actuality not a god. He's a human. He's fallible just like the next man type of thing. And I think that's where you could go more into his background, his backstory, and show people why he came to this conclusion type of thing. That's just me coming from my standpoint.
That's not no like 10-minute scene though. I get what you're saying though. Like, focus the two movies on Doom. Like, they don't have to show his whole hand in this movie, but him like replacing Kang can't just be like, because they have to
A
say
flip.
Kang. It can't
Yeah,
be no 5-minute scene of
Yeah.
Kang being dead from Doom. It's like, no, y'all did 2 seasons of Loki. He was a villain in a movie, and y'all was teasing for other shit. Like, just get rid of Jonathan Majors. Nobody's gonna be mad at this. Just keep the nigga Kang, bro. Send him to a different timeline. Have Doom do that. But it's like, yeah, I would definitely agree. Have Doom like build slowly on Doom, and then like show like you say in the God complex thing, because that plays into a big piece of Doom's character as well. In one comic, he was saying, "I was a god before, and I found it beneath me." And it's like, damn, like this nigga can have anything, but he still thinks being Doom is always going to be number one in his book anyway. Yeah. So if they build up on that and and do whatever, it's just like just don't write off Kang too fucking fast.
Yeah.
Or too bad. Which is I can understand that point. All right, I think as well. We're in an hour and some change. I think we might as well end off on Daredevil, or not Daredevil, Devil May Cry. Daredevil is
Heat.
still going on. I think it was mid-season, but we'll talk about it next week. It's a lot of
Heat.
people talking about Daredevil, but just as many people are talking about Daredevil, they are also talking about Devil May Cry.
Dante,
There
that
has
dude.
been a lot of talk on social media as of right now. A lot of people are
Jackpot.
saying they missed a lot of the canon storyline within the games. They're missing a
Jackpot.
lot of essence. They're missing the core of what demons were in the games, and they're being too social justice conscious in the shows and everything like that, which I find amusing because most of these writers for this shit probably went to their liberal arts program in their colleges, and the main fucking word in liberal arts is liberal. So you would expect people to write stories such as this, but somehow, some way, it's not good enough for them, or it's just too much for them. But outside of that, how are y'all feeling? I don't know if y'all have one. I want to know, have y'all personally played the Devil May Cry series? And then two, how are y'all feeling about this Devil May Cry series that Netflix has dropped and its comparison to the game?
Well, let me start off by saying this is all spoiler free, people, so y'all can stick by. And I gotta sit down and not let my mouth run like a daggone faucet. But I'm gonna try and keep it straight to the point. Series was an 8 out of 10. It had the essence of DMC3. Dante. I've played the games. I've enjoyed every last one of them. Straight heat. I like how the story had its own plot, and it was not comparable to the stories for DMC 1 through 5, and even the reboot they tried to do. I liked every character, Lady, Dante, the rabbit, everything under the sun. Especially the fact that a beloved voice actor that passed away. This is, if I'm correct, was his last voice acting role. And to
Kevin
hear
Conroy.
his, why you gotta interrupt me? Do I ever interrupt you?
Yeah, you did actually in the same pod earlier.
No, I actually didn't. But like I was saying, to hear Kevin Conroy's voice in that first episode brought chills to my flipping spine because all I could think was Batman. Like literally, that's the first thing that popped in my head. And for him to play the role that he's playing in this show and the conviction he needs to have to convey the feelings of this character for what he's trying to pull in everything, every decision that's made for his development, it just sat so perfectly. So with that being said, like, yeah, it has its qualms with certain things that weren't done right, and certain things that, like, it could have been dark, it could have been gritty, but it still was a good show. The story was real good. Everything held itself together. No plot holes really. So I give it an 8 out of 10.
Real quick to piggyback off of T's point as well, Kevin Conroy, he delivered a masterful fucking performance, yo.
Don't spoil.
He's probably one of the best voice actors that I've ever seen. Because I'm so accustomed to hearing him play Batman, so when I heard his voice in the role that he's playing, not gonna give too much information on the role that he's playing, but it's different than Batman. It's considerably different from Batman, but he just fucking does his fucking thing in that damn voice, in that damn role. His inflections. It's kind of like comparable to a recent thing. What's the nigga? I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy that did Conquest voice. It was just
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It was Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing Conquest, but I'd give it probably 5 to 10 notches higher up on the scale in regards to Kevin Conroy's performance in this season. I've never really played Devil May Cry. I've never really gotten to the games. I probably played it here and there type of thing. But when I base my votes on how I like a show, is usually based on if I watch that first season and I binge it. One, if I binge it, I can't put it down. Two, if after I finish that, I have to know what the fuck happened in the story and everything like that, that's how I know it's automatically a good series. If I'm that intrigued where I'm like, oh, I'm actually interested to figure out what happens in the story from the game's perspective and everything like that. And that's when I figured out how the different changes, minor changes or even major changes that they made in comparison from the game to the show. And I kind of got a sense of, what's the word, admiration for it, because they could have just did a 1-to-1 and then washed their hands from it. But at the same time, who just wants a 1-to-1 specifically? This is an anime, this is gaming and everything like that. But I'd probably say an 8.5 out of 10. I wouldn't say solo level in season 1 level, but I'd say it's pretty close. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I'm very similar to Sage in this one, where in terms of familiarity, there it is, of the actual series. Like I've played it here and there, but like I'm not enough to say like I know the ins and outs or anything like that for Devil May Cry. I think that the fact that there are complaints around the series is kind of making me really come to peace with something I've been trying to come to peace with personally. I'm somebody who's more knowledgeable in comic books. Like I'm not great. I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to comic books, but I'm more knowledgeable. I have more understanding of like what different iterations of like MCU or DC content is like. And I oftentimes will be like, oh, well, this isn't like the comic book, or this isn't like the comics, or this character isn't like this character in the comics. And the problem that I'm starting to realize is like we can't do that. We gotta just kind of like to an extent, yes, there are certain things where it's like you know if a character is completely portrayed oppositely or completely portrayed incorrectly from the original IP, then that is a little weird and a little confusing, and it probably does deserve a little bit of criticism. But like when enough of the elements are there and they're taking liberties on their own for a medium that's different from the original medium, I feel like you have to be able to give some type of grace. I think a better thing to do is to look at the narrative structure, to look at the dialogue, and if it's an animation, to look at the voice acting, to look at the for both animation and live action, the CGI, the animation style if it's animation. Look at the details of the actual thing that you're reviewing, not how much it relates to another piece of media or another medium. Don't worry about that, because they're gonna have to be unique. And I'm trying to even do a better job of reminding myself of that. And I feel like this is the case with Devil May Cry, where yes, there are elements that are different from the actual games themselves, at least based off the knowledge that I have. But in terms of the story's narrative, in terms of the voice actors, in terms of the special effects and CGI, in terms of the actual elements of this specific IP in this specific medium, it was really good to me. It was done really well. It was a great introduction for somebody, I feel like, who isn't familiar with Devil May Cry. To Sage's point, it also made me want to now go and dive further in to Devil May Cry, see if it makes me want to play the games that I haven't played, the levels that I haven't played within the games. It makes me want to play it more. It makes me want to know the story more. I agree. I'm somewhere between an 8 or an 8.5 as well. And but yeah, like hearing that people are criticizing this for not being like 1-to-1, or criticizing this because a certain character doesn't give off the vibe that you expected them to, I like, bro. At what point? Like, at what point are you just gonna be like, all right, look, it ain't exactly what I wanted or exactly how I anticipated it to be, but I can still admit that it was something that was done well overall. Or like, at what point do we start to do that and not just nitpick every little thing? That's the one thing that is becoming very annoying. And honestly, like when you go back to the MCU, kind of starting to understand where Disney and Marvel and like the different heads of these things just ignore us. They just straight up. I kind of don't blame them if that were to be the case. We're too nitpicky. It's okay, like if it's different, or if they portray a character different for this specific thing, it's not the end of the world. You can still kind of like figure out from the elements within it like what it has to offer, whether it's a good series or a good show or not. If Captain America isn't the Captain America you want, can you still separate that from the idea of, okay, well, did you like any of the elements in the actual film? Same thing with the I'm not spoiling anything by saying the main character, right?
No.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah.
Because
So
we know his
so
name.
if right, okay, so if Dante is not 1-to-1 with how you anticipated him from the game, can you still differentiate that? Can you separate yourself from the sentiments on that, from the sentiments of the actual, like how the actual show is, if it's done well or not? Is that too much to ask for a totally separate medium of an IP that you like? But yeah, again, I give it a 8 out of some. I'm like, let's go 8.25. I know that's a weird number to give, but I'm gonna go right in between both of y'all's ratings though.
I feel you. One episode though that I really have to give a shout out to, and I seen it say, yeah, episode 6.
Episode 6.
It's something
Yeah.
about those silent episodes where
That
they
was
just
great.
convey it with music and just
Hold on.
cinematography.
It wasn't silent. It was musically produced correctly for the scenes that were portrayed from start
Art
to
was
finish.
beautiful.
It was no
my
talking.
Goodness. Oh,
It was
Art
no
was beautiful.
talking.
It was
And
no dialogue.
I can't
Oh.
remember. I can't remember what other show has done this recently. It was another show that did it recently, and they just fucking knocked it out the park too. I think it was Invincible. It was Invincible. It was Invincible when the two villains
Yeah, the
were going through their
robbers.
backstory, and that episode was top tier. And then
Yeah.
we see it from this, and I don't know what they did. I don't know who created this joint, but they put their whole foot in episode 6, man. In the ass of episode.
So my thing is, after watching episode 6, was he wrong?
He wasn't.
No, but the way he went about
The way he went
like,
about it was
bruh.
a little extreme.
Yeah.
Super extreme.
Another thing though too is, and I said it, and I just really want to like emphasize it, the art in that episode, the dancing back and forth between the two areas, that was like
Different
really
animation.
good.
Bruh, I
Yeah,
thought I'm gonna tell you now.
Spider-Verse vibes.
When you see the change in animation styles, I thought of Craig in the Creek. That was the
Okay.
animation style that kind of hit me for that.
Which is unique, because to see that in something like this,
Yeah.
like that was, I really praised them for kind of
But to really
that
see
alone
how
to me makes
gritty
it a
that
good.
was.
That idea alone, the fact of the things that they were able to challenge just in an animation, is enough for me to say people should be more optimistic about the series and should want to see more.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I teared up. That's all I'm gonna say.
It was a heavy fucking episode.
a heavy
With
episode.
no dialogue at all. You know, I don't think people understand how difficult that is in a fucking show. You have no characters saying anything throughout the entire show.
It-
I
And the
thought
episode
Dante was
is like
tweaking.
26 minutes. It's
But
just
26
26 minutes to
But
convey
here's the
that.
thing, though. Here's the thing, though. That's what makes the line in episode 7 hit. We three are the same. That's all. That's all. That's not really giving
Yeah.
away anything, and
Right.
that's not spoiling nothing. That line is important
It's-
coming off
yeah.
episode 6.
Absolutely. It definitely, it hits the, it's like, it hit the nail on the coffin, and you like, wow, you right. Like, you actually are right.
One thing I
Yeah,
will
that-
say that was probably like a glaring thing that kind of pissed me off about this though, was some facets of Lady. After actually
Yes, I agree with
watching,
that.
after actually watching the background of the games and to see how different of a character she is in the games in comparison to in this show, at first I didn't know what it was, but I kind of like how the differences that they make with her character in this show is kind of new, it's refreshing. I just don't like her one-liners. She had a lot of one-liners,
Wait,
and
you
that
talking
shit
about
started to piss me off.
you talking about L?
I'm talking about Lady.
Oh, I was trying not to give away no character names. I was just saying L for.
But that's fine.
It's characters. They gonna know. It's Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
It's the main characters. Or main supporting characters. But, yeah. I didn't like them one-liners.
It was fine.
After a while, they started to get a little cheesy, and I'm just sitting there like, okay. As the season went on, they kind of stopped, and the character arc that she goes through is quite interesting as well.
I just kind of put that on like, I just kind of put that, and I know that from what I understand, I believe they did do like something else that was like an animated series for Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's kind of like first seasons. I feel like if it's more good than bad in a first season, you just kind of got to chop it up to like,
Yeah.
you know, they just was trying to figure it out. Like if you get too much of it or an emphasis of it in following seasons, that's where I feel like we really could have more complaints. But for a first season, it's like, all right. Yeah, there was a lot, and I agree with that, and I do think that there was other dialogue points where it was kind of like, or even just narrative points where I'm like, but it's I could forgive it because overall they hit hard in certain areas in certain episodes, and it's cool. Overall the entire story came together. 8 episodes. They only had the first episode was only like 20 minutes. So I can't even say they had 26 minutes for all 8 episodes.
Yeah.
They just had like they had 15 for the first episode. I don't know whether if it was a pitch or what. I don't know what happened there. But they did pretty good for 8 episodes, just concisely telling a story from A to Z and letting it go from there, and then still giving room to have elements that we now will not only be familiar with in a following season, which I think it should get a second season, but we'll see. But it has the elements that were presented there were presented very well. If they needed to be vague about it, to be honest with you, I kind of hope some of the stuff that they do Doomsday, since we begin getting introduced to new characters in Doomsday, I kind of hope they follow some of the stuff that happened in Devil May Cry, where it's kind of like, okay, yes, you explained this one specific character that they talked about vaguely, but the way that they introduced the character, even though it was vaguely, I'm prepared for the character in season 2. That's all I need. That's fine. And again, if they could do that with like Doom and between Doomsday and Secret Wars, I thought that was great. So kudos to them for how they just were able to fit everything in, given such a narrow time, and to make me want to see a second season and also learn more about Devil May Cry.
Since you have played all of the games and have watched this show, I got two questions for you. One, and for Niall, this first one could be for both of y'all. Now you said that you read up on the Devil May Cry lore, right?
No, I didn't. I'm still kind of blind on it. I gotta go read up. That's a T. That's completely T.
All right, so T. Do you think, and I'm not trying to spoil anything, but do you think that the father comes back? I'm just gonna say it like that. I'm guessing you can know whose father I'm talking about.
Yes, I'm aware. But you talking about over the basis of knowing how these games go?
Yes, because I think that person was a big driving factor in one of the games, or the big bad in one of the games. I can't remember. I think so. Or he was a boss in one of the games.
Okay. Well, I'm going to establish this. This story is not relevant to any of the games. So
Okay.
to say said person comes back is kind of up in the air. Um, because they didn't follow any of this. Like, this is not DMC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just they took Dante and his character mannerisms and gave us a couple characters from like L, and added them into this world. So it's hard to say that that person comes back. It's possible. It's possible. Because that will give a good reaction from said character. So it's kind of wide open at this point with season 2 coming. If they do it right, season 2 should come out next year. Take a year off, and then we'll get season 3. If they
Wasn't
do
that?
it right.
I had a question too. That black guy. Damn, it was multiple black guys. The black scientist. Wasn't he a character later on in the games? If I'm not mistaken. Oh, okay. I just had to make sure that I wasn't bugging.
Yeah, but that
Second
was,
one.
yeah, that was kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Second one.
My man said, "Tink."
Second question. I don't know all the games. I'm pretty sure it was Devil May Cry 3 and probably some light novels that they released as well that this series was based off of. In comparison to where they got the story from and everything like that, would you rather take the game or the actual show?
What do you mean? Which one would I take?
If you had an opportunity to pick one adaptation right now that you'll have to stick to the rest of your life with, you won't be able to view or play the other one. Which one would it be?
Here's the thing. I don't know how the animated series ends, so I will take the animated series so I can see it all the way through. Because I know how every last one of them end. And since I already seen it, I'd rather see how this one goes through.
Since it's something new, refreshing type of thing. Got you. I figured we do the spoiler free, and then next week we give everybody else some time to be able to finish it or be able to catch up on all the lore and everything like that in regards to the Devil May Cry series, so that we can have a broader discussion on it.
So one big thing is though,
sure.
the question like some people may ask like, does this anime follow the game? And Shankar, I think he's like one of the producers or the writers or something. He stated multiple times that his Devil May Cry universe is set in a more grounded version of the world than the games are. So, completely different.
Yeah. Which I'm happy that they went that way. You know, some people are gonna be pissed, but I was telling people on Twitter, if you want to fucking watch the goddamn cutscenes and you don't watch the old story, watch the fucking cutscenes. Watch somebody play through the old Devil May Cry games. You already have that shit. Why would they one-to-one?
Yeah, it's too. We get hung up too much on what we love, and not open ourselves up to new ideas and new iterations of things, and we got to do a better job of that.
And it's hard to one something without people complaining. So they're like, let me just create
Even
a whole
then.
new story, switch a couple things up here and there, and present it to y'all.
And at the same time, what happens in the game, it's going to be difficult. Just like how we see with these superhero movies. It's not just so easy for these people to use comic book storylines and then one-to-one it in the movies. Because a comic book operates completely different than the movie does.
Yeah.
Just as much as a game, a video game operates completely different. Did that operate differently?
No, it was like one from the comics.
One-to-one from the comics? Okay. But
it just can't always. That's the thing. It can, but sometimes it just doesn't.
It doesn't
It's
work.
not gonna work.
In the confines of different mediums type of thing. Just like I was saying, the video games in comparison to a TV show. You probably got a little bit more wiggle room to talk more about the story and everything, get really in the nitty gritty of things because you putting different Easter eggs out there. You got niggas hunting for different shit, all of that jazz in a video game where I can't necessarily control where we go in this TV show. So I'm gonna have to give you the story that I can, and give you enough of it so that you come back for season 2 again. So it's just different things.
Fallout.
Yeah, Fallout 2. I'm pretty sure they did some changes to that if I'm not
Yeah, they
mistaken.
did. It's not 1-to-1 to the games. It's not. But it works and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine as long as they some of the core elements that they needed to keep, they kept, and some of the things that they needed to change, and some of the things that make more fitted to fit a television program, they took the liberties to do. But regardless of those changes, people who either were fans of Fallout or people who are new to Fallout can enjoy it. Last of Us is more on that kind of closer to a 1-to-1, but still, even at that, they did a lot of they took a lot of liberties, and it's something where if somebody isn't necessarily going to play a game, they still can enjoy the series. Or if they have no history of the game, they still can enjoy the series. And I mean, it's not the content that's made isn't just made for you as somebody who's previously consumed it as another IP in another form, in another IP form. It's not just for you. It's for they're trying to open the reason why they even make things into a television show or into a movie is so that way more people can enjoy this thing that you have gotten to the point to where it could be recognized and loved enough. You have to allow for it to be able to be accessible and understandable and enjoyable by people other than yourself.
Last thing, and then we can end this off. I love the Easter eggs that they put in there for Capcom. They put in a Street Fighter reference in there. That animation, the choreography for the fights was top tier. I'm not gonna lie.
Hold up though. We ain't gonna talk about the Resident Evil Easter egg they threw in there.
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 2, and then you had the Mega Man 2, which that caught me completely off guard.
It wasn't RE2, it was just Resident Evil in general.
Yeah.
No, I said Mega Man.
No, but you just said Resident Evil 2 before that when I said Resident Evil.
I think you were saying too, like Resident Evil as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Man said we
Not
ain't gonna bring up the Raccoon City job.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a great solid little reference.
Yeah. OD.
Capcom, we're gonna throw everything in there.
In Capcom, I feel like is a gaming studio that just doesn't play around with the shit that they create.
Sure,
I mean, they might have a couple flops here and there, but the majority of their catalog is top tier because they have this level of excellence that they hold that shit to, that standard that they hold that
and
shit to.
that's the beauty of this series and why you can't be so critical is that if you are Capcom as well, you're a fan of Capcom, you can actually be a fan of Capcom titles where I can believe there are people like that out there. This will open up a world for more content, more revenue for the series and the company that you enjoy. They could potentially end up trying to do something off of this with some of the same creators and some of the same Resident Evil, for a Street Fighter, for different series that you enjoy. Don't be too critical. It's okay. Just like, it's just like, think about how everybody was during phase 1 of MCU. There was a lot of things that was weird about first phase MCU, and but we were like, it's okay, walk with them. There's some things here that's really good. Robert Downey Jr. was very impressive as Iron Man to begin. Take the good. Don't try to nitpick at every little thing.
You know they will.
I know.
They will.
I know.
That's the society we live in, but it's okay. Eventually people will get, I mean, usually they're the minority anyway, so.
Yeah, that's why the people who like are the longest with series, none of our opinions ever really make it. They don't really make it. Why don't they make it? Because we probably the one that has the largest criticism all the time. We always focus on the negatives. If we try to acknowledge the positives and then offer things and suggestions, Dragon Ball is a great example of that. Because GT was more or less fan made, right?
Yeah.
GT was more or less fan made, but if you go back to when like Dragon Ball Z was wrapping, like the Buu saga was wrapping up, people had criticisms, but they were offering ideas and imagery and it was so much more positive attitude around the series overall. Like, people were literally drawing iterations of different forms of Super Saiyan transformations. They had books and stuff on stuff like this. Like, literally, I remember drawing in books like this when I was a kid. There was so much more positive energy from the people who were there from the manga that came out in the 80s all the way up to the 2000s, that we were able to actually get a fan-made thing, whether it was liked or disliked overall, whatever. We were able to, our input was value, is the point that I'm trying to make. The more negative we are and pick on everything negative, the more creators of this stuff is going to be like, well, you clearly hate everything that we do. Let's just pay attention to the stuff that the people who don't hate everything we do like, and just make stuff for them. That's why it's like you shoot yourself in the foot when you're too negative. Listen though, I've been terrible with this. I'm kind of learning to calm down.
It is what it is. I feel like it's just one of the things that we have to deal with as a society with the internet and everything like that. Once you have all this media at your disposal, you have access to a lot of things that people back then never had access to. When Dragon Ball Z was dropping, you know how niggas had a lack of access so much? Niggas was so excited when Toonami came on and you could actually watch Naruto. When you could actually watch different animes and all of this jazz. And you was like, oh shit, this is what Japanese niggas have been doing this whole time and I didn't even fucking know it. I had no access to this shit.
No clue, yeah.
Otherwise, but now you have the internet at a
everything
global scale where everything is at your fingertips, where now you're able to watch all of these different avenues of media, and now you're just critiquing every single thing because
yeah,
you seen those, or you found those 10 out of 10 shows for you, and now you're just trying to search for that high over and over and over again, but you can never reach that high that whatever show that you watch just did it for you. You know, I think eventually we'll get the hang of it, but all the niggas that's hating on Devil May Cry just because it wasn't 1-to-1, or because you don't like the social justice themes or anything like that, like, bruh, get your dweeb ass outside and touch some grass, my nigga. It's more to life than the fucking storyline of a Devil May Cry series. Trust and believe that.
Yeah.
All right. But we appreciate y'all yet again for stopping on by with us. This was episode 62 at Squad Nero. Again, if you're coming from the YouTube side, please tap that like button and please tap that subscribe button. I'm looking at you niggas right now trying to get off the goddamn page. No, nigga. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Maybe even comment something down in the comment box too. Let us know how we did. Let us know how we can improve, and we would greatly appreciate that, alright? If you're on our Twitch side, twitch.tv/smooventertainment. Again, YouTube side is youtube.com/@Squad Nero 716. Alright? We appreciate y'all again. Episode 62. It's your humble host, Nino, Croco, Smooth, and Sage back at it again. Y'all have a good rest of y'all week.
Trash bags of that green, whipping fast.